Good evening, everyone, and welcome into the Forge Podcast. And happy Veterans Day to all who have served and are currently serving in the U.S. Armed Services. We appreciate your sacrifice and those who are still serving as well. This is the Forge Podcast, episode 19, brought to you by Shotgun Sports Network Alabama of the Shotgun Sports Network. My name is Ryan Messer, and as you can see, I'm wearing the shades, the aviator sunglasses that were given out at the season opener for the Birmingham Squadron this past week for the Hoops for Troops promotion there for the Squadron. But before we get too far, we also have to get into the Bulls who wound up hosting the Rail Yard Dogs on Friday. And then the Stallions will be in town hosting their Fan Fest. And then all five teams are going to be participating in the BHAM 5 promotion benefiting the Food Bank of Central Alabama. But before we get too far, I want to thank you guys for continuously supporting us and watching, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, and sharing and all of that, and listening to us on Spotify, iHeart, Audible, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're finding these podcasts. Just ask you to make sure you like and share with people that might not know that there is commentary here in the Magic City for the pro sports here in Birmingham. But if you like it, make sure you share it. If you don't like it and want to see something different or want more of something, let us know. Shoot us a comment, shoot us a direct message. Let us know what you want to see. We love to get your feedback, and we really appreciate the support. We really do. We also really appreciate this big support from Blue Spring Living Water, who has been supporting us all year, and they want to support you in your healthy lifestyle with clean water with no harmful chemicals added, and it's bottled right at the source. One of the few places in the country or the world that the water is bottled right there at the source, and it's located right there, right down the road over in Blount County, Alabama. So make sure you take a step toward a healthier life with Blue Spring Living Water and get it delivered right to your door, or you can find it at your local grocer. And with that, this is episode 19 of the Forge Podcast. We're going to get things started with the Birmingham Bulls, who had a transaction this past week. On Wednesday, the Bulls wound up signing defenseman Trevor Thurston to a player tryout contract, and he did wind up playing on Friday night as well, where the Bulls wound up hosting the Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs. Things got started off with the controversial Austin Roudbush, Rudabush in the net for the Rail Yard Dogs, and Lotzie in for the Bulls. The Rail Yard Dogs started things off very physical and kept it in their offensive zone a majority of the first period. And Taylor Brierly did find himself in the box just 7 minutes into the game for a high stick, putting the Bulls on their first penalty kill of the night. After the penalty kill, the Rail Yard Dogs went back on the power play, this time with a two-man advantage, as Philemon Ledzianko was charged with a high stick and Seth Benson was charged for a trip. Both minors were enforced just 3 minutes left, just over 3 minutes left in the first period. At the end of the first period, the Rail Yard Dogs wound up outshooting the Bulls 20-5. Going into the locker room there. But going into the second, the Bulls did start off to a decent start, but then we saw just 7 minutes and 18 seconds into the period, the Rail Yard Dogs scored. Then it went back to back with just 10 seconds later, they scored again on just after the face-off there. Then just 7.5 minutes left to play in the second. Kyler Matthews found himself in the box for a delay of game penalty. In the third, just halfway through the third there, the Bulls actually wound up going on the power play. This time for a roughing, but it wound up getting turned into a double major for a misconduct for continuing the altercation. But I didn't see anything from the SPHL as far as a suspension for Ford on that penalty. But I kept looking, I didn't see anything, but because usually after the game misconduct, we've been seeing suspensions follow, but I didn't see anything for this one. Don't know whether it might not have been bad enough for the suspension from the league, but McGregor Sinclair was only able to capitalize with one goal just 20 seconds into the power play, which wasn't enough to overcome the two back-to-back goals from the previous period. And then for the standings, Fayetteville is in first place, with Huntsville being in second. And then Birmingham, Knoxville, and Evansville are all technically tied for third place with 9 points on the season. But there's a lot of hockey to play, and the Bulls are headed to Knoxville this Friday to take on the Ice Bears. And they will be back on Saturday in Pelham for Yellowstone Night to host the Ice Bears. The first 1,000 people will get a bandana. And then they will have these specialty jerseys. As always, they will wind up being auctioned off after the game. So make sure you get there and get the bandana and stay after the game and get the jersey there. Switching things over to the Birmingham Squadron. On Thursday, the Squadron wound up releasing their opening night roster. And pretty much the same thing as we saw before. Keon Brooks, the rookie out of Washington, number 0 was on there, along with guard Galen Robinson Jr. from Houston. Alfred Payton was the guard, number 2 from Louisiana. And then we saw Gregory Hammond, the guard from Southern Arkansas. Jamal Kane from Oakland, Michigan. And then we saw Jalen Crutcher is back, of course, the guard from Dayton. Then we saw Brandon Boston, the two-way guard from Kentucky. Josh Oduro, the forward out of Providence. Ike Inibagu, the center from UCLA. Then we see Isaiah Brockington back, the guard out of Iowa State. Trey Jemison, the two-way center from UAB. And then Trey Mitchell, of course, the guard out of South Alabama, back as well. But there was an injury to one certain star out of the league, so we didn't get to see everybody play. There was a little change up in the roster at the game, but on opening night for Saturday, the Squadron wound up taking on the Mexico City Capitanes, and the Hoops for Troop night with the first 1,000 fans getting these glasses right here that I was wearing earlier. But it was great to see everyone back for another season. We got to see Sean Baker, the 11th man at the game. He got to participate a little bit in the opening ceremonies there. And then the game started off with Birmingham's Isaiah Brockington scoring the first points of the game. But then Mexico City wound up scoring 5 unanswered points. Then Trey Mitchell wound up getting into a little bit of foul trouble early, but then the rookie Keon Brooks Jr. got his first points as a member of the Squadron with a shot from behind the arc while being fouled, but he missed the free throw there. After the missed free throw, the Capitanes went on and scored 10 unanswered, making the biggest stretch, the biggest lead that they had of 10 to 15. But they wound up continuously going back and forth throughout the first half, with the Capitanes narrowly outshooting the Squadron. Then coming out of the locker room at halftime, the Squadron came out a little bit more physical, and they wound up cutting the lead down to 1 going into the fourth. But the Capitanes wound up breaking away in the fourth, primarily off the 3 ball, hitting 5 of them compared to the lone 3-pointer by Crutcher. Even though the Squadron wound up losing, we got to see a lot, especially Keon Brooks hitting 11 for 18, and then 3 of 9 of that was from behind the arc. So great to see him have a great night. And then Isaiah Brockington had himself a great double-double night with 15 points and 12 rebounds. So great night for those guys. But we were able to catch up with Coach Saint after the game, and this is what he had to say about the rookie.
Yeah, we actually had a season ticket holder event maybe 3 nights ago, and we talked about him a lot. He's picking things up, I know this is cliche, extremely fast for a rookie. He has a really, really bright future, and some of the offensive stuff is kind of untapped and we can get more organized for him. But yeah, he's playing really well in practice, and I'm glad it showed some tonight on the offensive end and both defensive end.
He then went on to talk about what he learned from seeing the guys play, and this is what he had to say.
Learned we got to create better looks. I got to look inwardly. I went into the game deciding we were going to play 8 guys with some experiential guys at the end of the bench. I think we really ran out of gas. It was 27-13 in the fourth quarter. They won by 15, so that's 14 right there. I really think it was as Taylor's all this time we ran out of gas. I got to look inwardly at how I did some of the sub patterns.
He also talked about Trey Mitchell and what he adds to this team.
Size, rebounding, defense, communication. Trey Mitchell, for 4 years previous in this league, I think he's probably the best perimeter defender in the G League. He got in foul trouble early tonight, so we got to work on some of the discipline parts, but he'll be fine.
Lastly, he wound up wrapping up talking about Isaiah Brockington and his leadership for this team and what it means.
Yeah, I mean, and he was the one, ironically, to that point, speaking in the locker room just now after we kind of let it open floor for the players. He is what I would consider a squadron. How Malcolm Hill was, Island Cheatham before him. He embodies just the program to a T. Love the guy. He's amazing.
But overall, I mean, it was a great, I believe it was a great look for this team, even though there were some areas that they could improve on. There's still a lot of basketball to be played. And before the game, the former number 1 draft pick, as we mentioned, for the Pelicans, Zion Williamson, wound up straining his hamstring with the team announcing that he would be out indefinitely. I think I saw today where it says at least 3 to 4 weeks. So we'll have to see how that might affect the Squadron. So stay tuned to Shotgun Sports Network Alabama for more information on that. As soon as we get any information on any transactions or any moves with the roster, we will let you guys know on that. But the Squadron are heading out to Texas to take on the Rio Grande Valley Vipers on Thursday and Friday. But they will be back home this Sunday to take on the OKC Blue at Legacy Arena. So make sure you're there. Make sure you support the Squadron as they are getting their season revved up for this NBA G League season. Switching things over to the Birmingham Stallions. The Stallions will be holding their Fall Fan Fest this Thursday at Cahaba Brewing Company. They will have President and CEO of the UFL, Russ Brandon, on site. along with who's rarely ever there, but it's great to see him coming in. Vice President of Football Operations Daryl the Moose Johnston will be there to have a little discussion, along with head coach Skip Holtz. And safety JoJo Tillery and wide receiver Marlon Williams will be on hand to take pictures and meet and greet with the fans. And the UFL Championship trophy will be on hand as well, along with all kinds of giveaways. So make sure you get out there and support the champion, the three-time, three-peat champions, the Birmingham Stallions, at Cahaba Brewing on Thursday, 5 to 6:30. But they are also taking can donations for the BHAM 5 campaign, and they will be giving out a free gift if you bring a can donation. Speaking of the Birmingham 5 campaign, it is a cooperative between the USFL and the UFL Stallions, the Squadron of the NBA G League, the Birmingham Bulls of the Southern Professional Hockey League, the Legion of the USL Championship, and the Barons of the MILB. They will be taking canned food donations to benefit the food bank of Central Alabama. And the teams have been supporting the food bank for years. As you can remember, we went actually to with the Squadron this past summer as they wound up packing boxes out there and donated to the food bank monetarily as well. But one thing I love about the teams here in the Magic City is how much they support the community and they give back. But for more information on the BHAM 5 promotion, and make sure you check out the Shotgun Sports Network Alabama Facebook and X pages to learn more about what and where to donate for that. But in closing, we've got a big week for the Bulls, Squadron, and Stallions. Next week, we will share interviews from Russ Brandon, Moose Johnston, and Skip Holtz. But for this week, I want to thank you for continuously watching and see you guys next week. But as for this week, happy Veterans Day to all who have served. Good night.